Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dorothy, and in today's video we'll be learning how to draft and sew a female long sleeve shirt with collar. If this is something you're interested in, stay back and get your pattern drafting tool ready while we get into the video shortly. If you're coming across this channel for the first time, you are welcome. On this channel we do pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. To my existing subscriber, you are welcome as well, and thank you for always engaging in all of the content on this channel. Now let's get started. I will be using this crepe fabric for this tutorial, and the crepe is about 1 yard. The length of the crepe fabric is 60 inches, but if you go to the market and you get the one of 45 inches, then I will advise that you use 1.5 or 2 yards for it. It all depends on your body size as well. I will be using this pattern paper to draft the front and the back piece together. This is because the back and the front are almost the same. It's just that the front has a button allowance and the back doesn't, and just few modification around the neckline and the armholes. So for the front pattern, I marked 2 inches from top all the way to down of the pattern paper for the button and buttonhole allowance. Then I connect the line straight using my ruler. On this upper side here, I will rule a line of about 0.5 inch. This line will serve as my starting line or my shoulder line. So this line here is my starting line or shoulder line, and this line is my button or buttonhole allowance. So let me just label this out. From the starting line or shoulder line, I'll go ahead and place my horizontal measurements, which are my bust point, my waistline, and my hip line. There is no need for underbust. For a shirt sleeve, there is no need for underbust measurement. So from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches, to my waistline is 17 inches, and to my hip line is 25 inches. And my hip line will also serve as the length of the shirt. So I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect the line like so. So let me just label out my lines. Remember, I'll be drafting the front and back pieces together. So for my front neckline, for my front piece, the neck width I'm working with is 3 inches, while the neck depth is 3 inches, and these are the standard neckline measurements. For the back pieces, the neck width is 3 inches and the neck depth is 1 inches. I mark that, then I'll use my curve ruler to curve out my neckline. This is my back neckline and this is my front neckline. Okay, on my shoulder line or starting line, I divide my shoulder measurement by 2 and mark that. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches. Remember that all measurements are taken from where my button allowance stopped. From the point I mark my shoulder measurement, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'll connect the line up to my neckline like this. From the shoulder slope, I will come down by 8 inches for my armhole line. To get the armhole line, you divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever figure you get is your armhole line. So mine is 8 inches. Then I will connect the line straight like this, and I will also extend the line horizontally like this also. To create the armhole depth for the front pieces, I divided my armhole line by 2 and I marked the midpoint. From the midpoint, I came out by 0.5 inch, that is half an inch on my chest line. I divided my bust circumference by 4 and I marked it. Then I will use my curve ruler to connect the 3 points like this. For the back armhole, I will just use my curve ruler to connect from the midpoint to my chest line. So guys, I hope you understand and you can see the two armhole, the one from the front and the one for the back piece. Okay, now let's take our remaining body measurements. On my bust point, I divided my bust circumference by 4 and I marked it. Also on my waistline, I divided my waist circumference by 4 and I mark it on my waistline. On my hip line, I also divided my round hip by 4 and I marked it. Okay, so you can go ahead and use your body measurements. For me, I'm using my body measurements here. Then I will use my ruler to connect the line like so. If you notice, I did not add any sewing allowance to it. I'll be adding all my sewing allowances on the fabric directly because this pattern paper is not enough okay? And now that I'm done connecting my line, I'll just go ahead and cut. Guys, take note on the part that I am cutting out. So first of all, I'm first cutting my back armhole line, okay? Then I will cut my back neckline. And now that is all for the cutting of my back pattern. So guys, there is a little adjustment on the shoulder line. For a shirt, whether female or male shirt, the back shoulder is usually longer than the front. So what I'm going to do now is that I am going to add 1 inch to the back shoulder and minus 1 inch from the front shoulder, and I will be doing this on the fabric. So to cut my back piece on my fabric, I will fold the button allowance in like this. Remember that the back does not have buttons, so I'll fold this in, and right here on my fabric I have folded my fabric into 2, and then I will place my pattern paper on the fabric, and I will use my office pin to secure the pattern paper and the fabric together. Now let's add 1 inch on the shoulder. So on my shoulder for the back piece, I added 1 inch, then I use my ruler to connect the line like this. Then on my armhole line, I added 2 inches, and I'll also be adding 2 inches to the bust point, the waistline and the hip line. So I'll be adding 2 inches from that point all the way down. Then I will use my ruler to connect the lines like this. Then I will go ahead and cut. For this shoulder line, I will adjust the pattern paper to this point. I added 1 inch to the shoulder, and this will also make me adjust my back neckline as well. Just watch me as I am doing it. The reason I am adjusting the neckline is because I don't want the back neckline to be too deep. I want my collar to sit perfectly at the neckline when I am done placing my collar on the shirt, okay? So I will cut the neckline, then I will shift the pattern paper to the length, then I will go ahead and cut on my armhole. To cut my front pieces, let me just open up my button allowance. Then on my shoulder line, I will mark the 1 inch that I will be removing from my front pattern shoulder. Then I will use my ruler to connect the lines like this. Then I'll go ahead and cut it. And I will also be cutting the neckline and my armhole of my front piece before I'll go ahead and place it on my fabric. I have folded my fabric into 2, as you can see. Then I'll go ahead and place my pattern paper on my fabric. I will also add 2 inches sewing allowance on the side, that is on the chest line, the bust points, the waistline and the hip line. Then I will use my ruler to connect the line. Then I will go ahead and cut it out, and that will be all for my front pattern. I will place my back piece on my front piece like this. What I just want to do, I want to curve out the side line. I don't want it pointed like that. So upward, I'll go ahead and mark 1 inch. Then I'll use my curve ruler to curve the line down to the length of the dress like this. Then I'll go ahead and cut that out. And I will also be opening the front pieces. And I will also go ahead and notch the 2 inches buttonhole allowance that I left earlier. So guys, working on my front pieces, first I have iron gum stay on the button and buttonhole allowance that I left earlier. This is just to give the fabric some strength because this material is silky and you will be needing a lot of patience to work with this fabric. So I iron paper gum on the button allowance, and I will fold this button allowance into two like this, and I will also be doing the same thing for the second pieces as well. Then I will go ahead and take it to the sewing machine and I'll go and stitch my button allowance. Okay guys, I am done stitching down my button allowance. Next on, I'll be sewing my shoulder. So I place my front and back pieces together like this, and I will be sewing my shoulder on the right face of my fabric. This is to have a neat finishing at the shoulder without weaving it, or should you call it this type of ready to wear kind of finishing. This is it after sewing it. For this rough edge, I will fold it in like this, then I will go ahead and top stitch on it, and I will also do the same thing for the second shoulder. This is it guys, after top stitching on the shoulder. You can see how neat it is. So next on, I will turn the fabric on the wrong face, making sure the front and back pieces right side are facing each other. Then I will go ahead and join the two sides. I won't be marking my body's measurement here because I want this chair to be free as possible on my body. So I'll be sewing the two sides by 0.5 inch. If you want yours fitted, you can go ahead and place your body measurement before you sew it. Okay guys, I am done sewing these sides as you can see. So now let's go ahead and work on the collar. For my collar, I will first of all measure around the shirt neckline like this, and this measurement is what we'll be using to draft our collar. And right now I am having 17.5 inches. So my round neckline is 17.5 inches. You can go ahead and measure as many times as you want just to be sure about the measurement, okay? So I have this fresh pattern paper. Then I'll go ahead and rule a straight line on my pattern paper. Then I'll go ahead and divide my neckline measurement by 2. That is my round neckline measurement by 2. That is the 17.5 inches by 2. What I had was 18.75, and then I'll go ahead and mark that on my pattern paper. Then I'll go up by 1 inch from that half an inch of my neckline measurement that I measured earlier. The 8.75, I will divide it into 2 again and mark the midpoint. Then I will use my cover to connect the points like this. I want the length of this collar stand to be 1 inch wide, so I went on to mark 1 inch all the way around on my collar like this. Because the points are not straight, they are kind of curvy, I'll go ahead and use my cover to curve out the points, okay, and that will be my collar stand. At this opening, I don't want it squared, so I will just use my cover to curve it out like this. When you are done creating the collar stand, always remember to measure it to make sure that the measurement is the same with that of the shirt neckline. Okay, mine is 17 inches. So let's go ahead and create the collar itself. On my collar stand, I will come in by 1 inch, which I later adjusted to 1.5 inches later in this video. The length of the collar is going to be 2 inches wide, so I went on to mark 2 inches all the way around, just as you can see me doing. Then I will use my cover to connect the point. At the opening here, I will connect a straight line from there to the 1 inch I came down on the collar stand, and I will go ahead and label my collar stand and my collar. From the point I came in by 1 inch, I will extend it by 0.5 inch and I will adjust the line like so. And that is all for the drafting of my collar. So right now I'll go ahead and cut. I'll be using this pattern paper to cut directly on my gum stay. That is the size and everything. I'll be cutting it out on my gum stay. So guys, I have cut the collar and collar stand on my collar gum stay. You know, there is hard gum stay and soft gum stay. What I use in cutting this out is a soft gum stay, okay? So I already ironed that on my fabric, and as you can see, the fabric is folded into 2. So I will take it to the sewing machine and sew the side as you can see me directing. I'm done sewing my collar, so what I will do now is I will turn it inside out. Then I will go ahead and use my scissors to push out all these sharp edges. Then I'll go ahead and use my pressing iron to iron my collars very well. For my collar stand, I'll just go ahead and trim off these excess edges, leaving a sewing allowance of about 1/4 inch. Then I'll fold my collar stand into two like this and notch the midpoint. I will also notch the midpoint of my collar. So I'll place this collar stand that doesn't have any collar gum on it. Then I'll carry my collar and place it on it, right sides facing each other. Then I'll make sure that the both notch area both align with that of the collar stand. Then I will place my collar stand, the one with hemming gum or with collar gum, I'll place it on it like this. Then I'll go ahead and stitch on the 1/4 inch that I left for the sewing allowance. This is it, guys. After sewing it, I'll turn it to the right face, then I'll take it and go and iron it. One thing in making a collar, you need a lot of ironing, okay? I'm done ironing my collar, so right now let's go ahead and fix it to the shirt. So first of all, I will fold my collar into two and notch the midpoint, and I will also do the same thing for my shirt. I will fold the neckline into two and notch the midpoint as well. I will place the collar on the shirt like this, midpoint to midpoint. Then I'll go ahead and use my pins to secure it. When I'm done securing my pin, then I'll take it to my sewing machine and go ahead and sew it. I'm done stitching this down, so I will push in these rough edges here. I will cover it up like this. You can go ahead and use pin to pin this up, but I will just go ahead and go and top stitch on it. Okay guys, this is it. I'm done top stitching on my collar, so you can see how beautiful and how neat it is. Now let's go ahead and work on the sleeve. To draft my sleeve, first of all, I'll measure around my armhole, and I had 20 inches. So I folded my fabric into two like this. From the starting line, I will come down by 4.5 inches for my cap length. Then I will connect it with my ruler straight like so. So from the starting line, I will curve out my armhole like this. Sorry, my chalk is faint. From the starting line, which is called a shoulder cap, I will come down by 8 inches for my round sleeve. Then for the length of the sleeve, I will mark 20 inches. Initially, the length of my sleeve is 23 inches, but because I'll be putting band, I remove 3 inches from it, so I mark 20 inches as the length. Then I'll use the 3 inches to cut out my band. Okay, so I divided my round sleeve measurements by 2, then I marked it. Let me just trim off this excess. Okay, then on my wrist, I divided my wrist measurement by 2, then I marked my wrist measurement. Then I'll be placing that on that wrist side, so I added 1 inches for my dart, then 1 inch for the sewing allowance. Then I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect the lines like so. Then I'll go ahead and cut. I forgot to confirm my sleeve armhole line. I don't know why I had so much confidence. Yes, the measurement is accurate, it's correct. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and cut. To create this slit for my placket, I divided my round wrist measurement by 2. My round wrist divided by 2 is 2.5. Then I will mark the length of the slit. I want the length to stop at 5 inches. Okay, so I mark 5 inches, then I will use my ruler to connect it like this. So guys, you can go ahead and open up your sleeve now and cut it out, but for me, I just raise my shirt the sleeve a little bit, then I'll cut out the slit. So I notched the side of where the slit length stops. Then I'm using this to cut for my second sleeve as well. For the band, I'll be using this soft collar gum to cut the band, and I measure my round hand measurement and it's 9 inches. So I have folded this collar gum into 2, and as you can see, the width is 4.5 inches on fold. So when I open it up, it will be 9 inches, and the length I'm working with is 3 inches. That is the 3 inches that I removed from the sleeve length. So I will just curve this side of my collar gum like this. I don't want it square, and this is totally optional. At this point, NEPA took the light and I had to make use of the natural sunlight to film. So let's continue. For the placket, I have cut an iron paper gum on it, as you can see, and the width is 2.5 inches and the length I am working with is 25 inches, and this length will just be enough for the two sleeves. I have ironed the collar gum on my fabric, and this fabric is folded into two. So now I will take it to the sewing machine and go and stitch on the side of the collar. After stitching, I will turn it to the right face, then I will take it to my ironing table and iron it. I will place my placket on the slit like this. I'm going to sew this just the same way you sew your bias, so I will just use my pins to hold them together. That is my placket to my slit like this. I will arrange them properly and I will pin them all the way around. Then I will take it to the sewing machine and go and stitch on it. This is it, guys, after stitching my plackets to the sleeve. So right now I'll just go ahead and trim the edges, that's the excess. So to finish it up, I'll just go ahead and fold in my placket like this, then I'll take it to my sewing machine and top stitch on it, and that will be all. So guys, this is it after top stitching. To join the side of the sleeve, let's first of all pin this placket down. So I'll fold the sleeve like this, then I will divide my round wrist by 2 and mark it. On the round sleeve line, I divided my round sleeve measurement by 2 and I mark it on my round sleeve line. You can go ahead and use your own body measurement for this. So I will use my free hand to connect it, then I'll go ahead and stitch it. This is it, guys, after sewing the sleeve. So now I will turn it to the right face and I will remove my pins that I use in pinning the placket down. For the band on the side, I have collar gum. I will fold that stitching allowance in, or you can run a top stitch or use hemming gun to hold it down. I actually did this when I was fixing the collar, but I didn't explain that part. So on the side that doesn't have collar gum, I will fold and notch the midpoint, and it's this part that I will use to attach the sleeve first. To fix my plackets to the band, I will place one side of my placket into the band like this, then I will pin it down. Then on the second side, I'll place the second placket in between the band, then I'll pin it down as well. Just watch me as I am doing it. Then I'll go ahead and arrange my sleeve edges into the band like so and pin it down. For the part that I added, that I'll go ahead and pleat it in between the band, just as you can see me doing. After I am done pinning my sleeve to the placket, I'll just take it to the sewing machine and run a stitch. Okay guys, this is it after stitching it. So right now I'll use this part that has come, that I've already folded the allowance in. I'll use it to cover up the rough edges, then I'll go and top stitch on it. Okay guys, this is it after top stitching on my band. You can see how neat it is. So next on, I'll go ahead and fix the sleeve to this shirt. I will also be weaving the inside of this shirt to have a neat finishing. Then I will go ahead and fold the length of the shirt. Okay guys, I have attached the sleeve to the shirt. I have also weaved the inner of this shirt, and as you can see, I have hemmed the length of this shirt, and I have also created the buttonholes for this shirt as well. So right now I'll go ahead and fix my button. Okay guys, this is the finished look of this shirt. I have attached my button, or I have fixed my button to the shirt already. You can see how neat and how beautiful it is. So if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do well to subscribe so that you can get notified to when I drop new video every week. Thanks for watching.